Welcome back students. Today we will continue with the remaining topics of chapter 5. So let's start. The law of variable proportion. The law of variable proportion states that as we increase the quantity of only one input, keeping other inputs fixed, the total product increases at an increasing rate, that is, convex shape in the beginning, then increases at diminishing rate, that is, concave shape, and after a level of output ultimately falls. This law outlines three stages of return to our variable factors, and these are increasing returns, diminishing returns, and negative returns. So, these three stages have been explained in the form of a diagram. Phase 1, that is phase of increasing return. It is also called the stage of increasing returns. The total product increases at an increasing rate up to point P. The marginal physical product of labor, that is MP, is increasing and reaches its highest point PP vertically downwards to point P. The point P is called the point of inflection. At point P, the curvature of the TPP curve changes. It stops increasing at an increasing rate and starts to increase at a diminishing rate. In the first stage, firm is moving towards achievement of ideal combination of factors in which TP is increasing at an increasing rate at every level of output. So instead of stopping its production, the firm will rather continue employing additional units to a variable factor. Phase 2, that is stage of diminishing return. The total product TP continues to increase but at a diminishing rate and eventually becomes the highest. MP is diminishing but is positive. The stage comes to an end when marginal product equal to 0 and total product is maximum and constant. The firm would like to operate in the second phase because TP is maximum and there is proper utilization of fixed factor. Phase 3, that is phase of negative returns. In this stage, the total product declines in absolute terms. The marginal product becomes negative. The firm cannot operate in the third stage where MP is negative and TP starts declining as we are moving beyond the optimum degree of specialization. Next, assumptions of the law. Point number 1, the firm operates in the short run. This means that only one factor of production is variable while all other factors are constant. Point number 2, the techniques of production does not change. That means there is no improvement in. Point number 3, it is assumed that the product process is such that it allows for different combinations of factor proportions to be used to bring about a change in output. Point number 4, all units of the variable factors are equally efficient. This means that this implies that output does not change because one unit of labor is more efficient than another. Point number 5, factors or productions are not perfect substitutes of each other. This means that some amount of all factors is required for production to take place. Next, causes behind operation. Reasons for increasing returns to a factor. The main reasons for increasing returns are as follows. Point number 1, better utilization of fixed factors. When we apply more units of the variable factor, we get increasing returns because fixed factors are better and efficiently used. Point number 2, division of labor. The application of more units of the variable factor results in divisions of labor that increases the efficiency of the factor. This helps in getting increasing returns. Point number 3, better coordinations between the factor. So long as fixed factor remain underutilized, additional applications of the variable factors tends to improve the degree of coordination between the fixed and the variable factors. Next, reasons for a diminishing returns to a factor. There are two main reasons behind the operation of diminishing return to a factor. These are optimum capacity and lack of perfect substitutability between factors. Optimum capacity. When the optimum combinations of fixed and variable factors is reached, then further increases in the amount of variable factors leads MP to decline. It is because the fixed factor now becomes inadequate relative to the quantity of the variable factor. Point number 2, lack of perfect substitutability between factors. For example, more labor can be applied in place of capital, but there is a limit to which one input can be substituted for another. Accordingly, returns to the variable factor are bound to decline. Next, reasons for negative return. That is overcrowding and management problem. Overcrowding. If we keep on employing the variable factor on a given quantity of fixed factor, this will lead to overcrowding on a fixed factor. Management problem. Use of too much of the variable factor, say labor, also creates the problem of effective management. When there are too many workers, it becomes difficult to manage them. The laborers can avoid work. Next, relationship between TP and MP. TP is the total product, MP is the marginal product. When marginal product rises, TP increases at an increasing rate. When MP falls but positive, TP rises at a decreasing rate. When MP is 0, TP becomes maximum. When MP becomes negative, then TP starts falling. Next, relationship between AP and MP. AP is average product, MP means marginal product. You see here in this diagram, the relationship between AP and MP have been shown. Point number 1, the AP increases when MP is greater than AP. Number 2, the AP is at its maximum when both MP and AP are equal. This is shown at point E. Number 3, the AP decreases when MP is less than AP. Number 4, MP can be positive, 0 or negative, but AP is always positive. Next, the law of diminishing returns and the law of variable proportions compared. Both refers to the same concept. Law of variable proportions is the new name for the law of diminishing returns of classical economics. It holds that if a firm keeps increasing an input, keeping other inputs and technology constant, corresponding increase in output will decrease eventually. For example, every farmer knows that if he increases units of labor and capital on a fixed piece of land, production will initially increase more in proportion to increase in factors. But after a certain limit, production increases in production will be less than the proportion of increase in factors. In other words, production will increase but at a diminishing rate. This tendency in the sphere of production is known as the law of diminishing return. If the law of diminishing returns were not operative in production, we could feed the entire population by producing adequate quantity of food grains even on a small piece of land by continuously increasing the amount of capital and labor on it. But this does not happen because ultimately this law must operate. Next, returns to scale. Returns to scale is the variation or change in productivity that is the outcome from a proportionate increase of all the input. The law of returns to scale has three stages which are as follows: increasing returns to scale, constant returns to scale, diminishing returns to scale. Increasing returns to scale. Increasing return to scale occurs when a given percentage increase in all factor inputs in the same ratio causes proportionately greater increase in output. If 10% increase in all factor input causes, say 20% increase in output, it is a case of increasing returns to scale. Constant return to scale. Under constant returns to scale, percentage increase in all factor inputs in the same ratio increases equal percentage increase in output. If 10% increase in all factor input causes 10% increase in output, it is a case of constant returns to scale. Diminishing returns to scale. Diminishing returns to scale occurs when a given percentage increase in all factor inputs causes proportionately lesser increase in output. For example, if 20% increase in all factor inputs causes, say, only 5% increase in output, it represents diminishing returns to scale. Next, distinction between returns to a variable factor and returns to scale. In the returns to a variable factor, only one factor is changed, keeping other factors fixed, whereas in the return to scale, all the factors are changed in the same proportion. The returns to a variable factor usually happens in short period wherein level of production can be changed, whereas the return to scale operates in long run wherein scale of production can be changed. In the return to a variable factor, the ratio between the variable factors and fixed factor changes, whereas in the return to scale, the factor ratio remains constant. The return to a variable factor indicate three stages, that is increasing, diminishing and negative returns, but in the return to scale can be increasing, constant and decreasing. In the returns to a variable factor, increasing returns are due to optimum use of fixed factor, specialization and volume discount. In the returns to scale, increasing returns are due to internal and external economies of scale. So students, with this chapter 5 ends. Thank you.